So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about my watering setup. Right now, uh, this is kind of my system right here. So I've got horseshoe irrigation, and it comes in through here, and I've got this filter, and with the clean out, little ball valve right there, so that because the water is pretty dirty, and so every now and again you need to flush that out. But anyways, that water gets filtered right there on that filter, and then I've got a little spigot that comes up out of the ground that I with a timer, and I can set my watering schedule that way. Now, if you notice though, I've got a garden hose hooked up, feeding my water line right here. This is my garden water line, and that's because the water hasn't been a good water year, and so they've shut off the irrigation water to let the ponds refill. So this orange garden hose is from my house. So that's one of my tips, is make sure that in your garden you can have your culinary water hook up to bridge the gap on days when the irrigation water isn't working. So that's helpful in the summer. It's also helpful in the early spring if you want to water a few things before the irrigation is turned on. You also notice I've got this little fertilizer injector that I've hooked up. It sends a little bit of water into that tank and mixes it with the fertilizer, and then sends it back out into the garden system. So you can put liquid fertilizers in there and just adjust how fast it comes out right here, and you can fertilize your whole garden. So I'm doing a drip system on my entire garden. So I've got my water line, it comes in and it feeds this main line right here, and that's just going, all the way down that way, and then all the way down this way, and I've got it going across to my trees. But everything's on this drip tape, and I've got my drip tape so there's holes every 12 inches. And if you need it 6 inches, you can just cut your drip tape and slide it forward a little bit, so that if you have two drip tapes right next to each other, when they're offset, it'll create a 6-inch triangle pattern. But it works really good. It's really efficient watering. And my rows are, I don't know, 45 feet long, 45, 50 feet long, and I've got a lot of rows, and I can water my entire garden all at the same time. Everything's just coming off of this, I think it's a 3/4 inch, about the size of a garden hose, this water line right here. And you'll notice that at the head of each of my rows, I've got these little valves. If I can get out of the shadow, I can shut those on and off as needed. So if I'm done growing something in a row, I can shut it off and don't have to water that anymore. Or if I've got my potatoes in this row, so when the potatoes are drying out and I need the ground to dry out, I can just shut those valves off. And then I've also got some inline valves right here, which are really nice. So if I don't want any water to go down that main line, I can just turn that valve, and I won't water anything on that side of the garden. And I've got another one over here, but those are really, really fancy and really, really helpful. So yeah, even my trees, I've got them on this drip tape, and it goes all the way down. So I really like the drip tape. It's easy to work with, and what I would recommend is most people will sell you I think it's 7 or 8 mil tape. I'm doing 15 mil tape, and I've used it for 3 or 4 summers now, and still working pretty good. So it's a great watering system. There's a lot of places that sell it online, but I got this kit that I first started out with. It was called the Truck Farmers irrigation kit or something like that, but it works pretty good. Been really, really happy with it. It's really efficient. And I love that it gets the benefits of a drip system are that it delivers water just immediately around the plants and not everywhere else. And so that cuts down on your weeds too, which is really, really helpful. But yeah, it works. Over here you can see my drip tape is running underneath my plastic. Um, and it's just, I just love it. It's a great system. And it's low pressure too, so I've got a lot of pressure coming out of horseshoe irrigation, but I've got a pressure reducer on here that I think it's 15 psi or something like that, and so you don't even need a lot of pressure to run this system. But that's pretty amazing. My garden is a really big garden, and water it all with one hose is pretty neat. I usually water for a few hours at a time, um, just to let that water down nice and deep, and then do it every few days, just depending on what the weather's like. But anyways, that's the watering system.